Hello, folks. I am back with another firearms review. And what you see before you is a firearm that I've always wanted to have. And I saw this originally on Beretta 9mm USA's review of the Dan Wesson Specialist. This is the Dan Wesson Specialist commander size firearm. And I'm going to show clear here just so we know it's a safe firearm, nothing here and nothing there, and we're all clear. Okay, I'm just going to give you some specs on this. It is the frame material is a forged stainless frame, so it does have some weight to it. It's roughly about, I would say, total weight with this is roughly about 41, 42 ounces. I don't have the exact weight, unfortunately. Uh, the slide is bead blasted, and one thing I like about this slide is you get to see these little serrations on top, on the top here that run across the top. That is supposed to, as everyone knows, to deflect glare when you're shooting in the daytime. And what's neat about it is it does have the sights. Now the sights are very unique. If you look on the top here, it's serrated in the back for glare again. And I do have a Dan Wesson Valor with the same sight setup, and it's tritium uh, sight in the rear. So they are night sights. So you could, if I could focus in from the rear here and in the front. Now they are supposed to sit up on top of each other like an eight or dot over dot. I'm not sure if this is focusing properly, but it's supposed to be and like that configuration. Now during my shooting, I've did you want to really want to have the dots as close together from top and bottom. I had it unfortunately a little bit too canted this way, if you see what I'm talking about, that the dot was a little bit higher in the front than the back where this window is right there. It's kind of sent my shots up a little high. You're going to see that momentarily. Getting back to the firearm, it does have G10 grips. These are called the VZ Operator 2s. These grips are standard there that come with the firearm itself. So they do have these online if you have, or on VC's website if you have another 1911 and if you like these particular grips. One thing I like about this is the front checkering right here on the frame. This front checkering, I believe, is 25 lines per inch checkering, which helps you with a good purchase. And what's unique about this is a lot of times when you have a front checkering, sometimes it can be over abrasive or not abrasive enough. But this is just the perfect fit. It's a perfect fit. It's not going to tear your hands up during shooting. As you notice, there's the undercut here, which gets you high up underneath, and that's the way I like to shoot my firearms. Get a good grip high up underneath the trigger guard, and that is really well designed by Dan Wesson. Now, if you look on the back here, there is a magwell here. Now, this magwell is what they call is like a two-piece design. Usually, when I have any firearm that I usually buy that does not have a magwell, I buy a Wilson Combat magwell that kind of clips into the screw here. Now, I don't know how they do this on this particular firearm, whether it's gripped there or whether or not, but this magwell is here, and again, there's checkering right here, 25 lines per inch checkering in the back. Some magwells have that attached to the mainspring checkering right here, but this one is basically separated. Also, what's pretty neat is uh, the takedown lever here or the slide catch. It's not too big and it's not too small. Now, normally when I use any firearm, I usually can't reach uh, the slide release or slide lock, if you want to call it that. I usually buy a Wilson Combat Extended, but I'm not going to worry about it on this because I've also trained in a different way where if I need to drop that slide, I'm usually an overhander, but I'm used to training to hit that slide release with my support hand thumb. One of the other things that I want to give you is the barrel length. The barrel length is, since this is going to be the commander size, the barrel length is going to be 4.25 inches. Now, a lot of the 1911s are now, particularly I've noticed it first with SIG on their 1911s. If you see right here, if you rub your thumb or finger across here, it feels like there's an extra like bushing made into the barrel itself. And that's to ensure lockup as the slide is reciprocating back and forth. And I pretty much like this feature on 1911s. The barrel is crowned, if I can get that in focus. The barrel is crowned, so just in case you drop it, you're not going to have particles of or breakage that's going to obstruct the path of the projectile coming out of the barrel itself, and that's not really a good thing. The width of this firearm is going to be 1.45 inches. So it's still pretty decent and slim in size. This, like I said, this is a heavy firearm. Some people will carry this. I've carried one previously, and I really didn't have any problems. It was what I was used to at the time because polymer wasn't really all that popular back then. If you notice on the slide lock or takedown lever, right here where you press out the slide release when you break this down, it's kind of recessed in. It's a nice clean look with this. So uh, when you press that out, it basically comes out pretty much smooth. It's probably going to be a little tight because this is new, but it does look cleaner and it does have an aesthetic look to it. So it doesn't look like your standard uh, s- uh, s- slide release pen that comes out. One of the other things that I like is this is a true 1913 Picatinny rail that you can use on your for flashlights, lasers, etc. Usually people have a problem finding holsters for this, but personally, I don't care. This I really like this feature. It adds a little bit of weight to also help with controlling. I did mention about the sights, and here I'm going to talk about the ambidextrous safeties here. They work very well. They're very intuitive. You can click those off and on both sides. Uh, this is a made-in feature. Some of these for some of these safeties are afterthought, but Dan Wesson does not make this as an afterthought. One of the things about Dan Wesson, we know that they do not use MEM parts. There's nothing wrong with MEM parts, but if you really want that quality, you want to use parts from here that are not forged. It works with the longevity and the quality of the firearm. Uh, I had also there are a lot of different things on here. I did do a lot of shooting with this. Just a brief history on this is it was supposed to be. I believe there are departments out in. I can't think of the police department, but it was I believe in the sheriff's department in California or wherever. They were looking for a new 1911, and most some of those departments do carry 1911s out there. So what they decided to do was in their search, Dan Wesson stepped up to the call and created this one. That's why the specialist was created because they wanted to fulfill that department's request. I don't know if these were issued or anything of that nature, but that's what it was quoted on Dan Wesson's website. But but they decided to sell this to the civilian market as well as a home defense firearm. So you can see where you're going with that, with the light rail if something goes bump in the night. So even though this looks like a glam firearm, I've mentioned a video before about glam firearms. Do not let the looks fool you. This is not a glam firearm. This is a firearm that you want to shoot. You want this as a defensive firearm. This is a firearm that's not going to be a safe queen. I don't treat any of my firearms as safe queens. I take them, I shoot them. If I drop them, oh well. But I will say this: this is a shooter. This is what you want something to use. You want to shoot this and not worry about anything. Whether I'm not going to mention any other companies, but other companies have their 1911s all jeweled up, and do they have the quality of being real shooters? Well, Dan Wesson is the company that this firearm is for shooting for, and that's the way it is with that company. Let me show you some targets. I'm going to get those. And by the way, I want to mention that there were no malfunctions with the Dan Wesson magazines, and I did have two other Wilson Combat magazines. That I always buy two extra Wilson Combat magazines, and there were no malfunctions with that either. I'm going to show you some targets, and excuse me, bear with me here. All right, this is about 10 yards, and this is me feeling the firearm out with my first shots. Unfortunately, what I did wrong on here was I took the firearm, and I have to constantly keep in mind and keep in practice not to turn my wrist. So I got to really learn to lock my wrist. And also, when I was telling you about the sights, where the sight is now, the sight, this is my, should be the sight picture. I had it a little bit canted up. So when I had it canted up on that sight picture, my first shots were up here. And as you see, there was a flyer up here because I didn't have it aligned properly. So then I tried to lowered it too low, and it got over here. And this, like I said, this is pretty much the wrist action here. Going on to the second target here, I am trying to my best to pretty much center everything. This is probably one of my better targets right here. Again, a little bit too high, and I get some. At least I'm still staying within the range that I like to be in. And here are some other shots. Basically, now I'm kind of getting comfortable with the firearm, but I'm trying to at least center it. Still, I'm a little bit too high because I've been trying a 6 o'clock hole. Even though I was trying a 6 o'clock hole, like I said, I had that firearm with the sight canted a little bit too far high. It should be even like this instead of tilted up. So that's a shooting error on my part. But I didn't realize that later until we're talking about maybe maybe about 100 rounds in, and that gets expensive if you don't pay attention to what you're doing. I'm kind of getting to where I want to be, but for this particular firearm, it's a combat pistol first before it's a target pistol. But I do treat all my firearms as like I try to treat it like a target pistol. Try to do certain things with it, and in all four of those targets, what I did was I tried to speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down, so I can get a different cadence, whether it's a double tap, triple tap, or just taking my time shooting. Other than that, folks, I'm just going to say that I really enjoyed this firearm. And I'm going to go out on a limb right now and say I'm going to probably get some more shooting time on it. But right now, I'm going to say this is my favorite 1911. And with that, stay safe, happy shooting, Hashtag 2A.